Hey, what's going on, everyone? I am back for another Slim Sports interview. And as always, I'm your host, Jay Slim. And joining me today, once again, on the Slim Sport podcast, you saw him last year. Now he's back once again after wrapping up an incredible collegiate career, one of the most accurate quarterbacks at any level. And I'm including the NFL on that because I've seen you sling it. You always hit your receivers in wide open space. A 6 foot quarterback out of Tennessee Tech, Kekoa Visperas. What's going on, man?
What's up, Jay? Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. You're always welcome on the podcast, especially after this incredible career at the college level that you have had. And obviously, a whole lot of accolades to your name, especially after this past year alone, dominating the OVC in incredible fashion, like you did alongside the Golden Eagles. And you got to be a part of this segment when it was called by a different name last year. But once again, I got to talk about your accolades, got to talk about what you've done throughout your career in this segment that is now named Resume Rundown. I'm going to look through that resume, look at what you've done. And I mentioned before that completion percentage, how you always find your receivers open. 2024 led the entire FCS in completion percentage, nearly 75%. We talked about that last time I had you on. This time, you now have OVC Offensive Player of the Year, OVC Conference Champions, and you were a finalist for the Walter Payton Award, which is given to the best offensive player of the year in all of FCS. So obviously a whole lot more accolades to your name after this incredible year. And you spent your first 4 years with Eastern Washington. Now you just wrapped up your year with Tennessee Tech, doing what you and I talked about last time I had you on, making it to the FCS playoffs, winning a championship, ending your career on this high note. What was some of the biggest differences when it came to the system at Tennessee Tech compared to how they utilized you at Eastern Washington?
I think just as a whole, like there was really one designated quarterback, and I think that plays a huge role in my numbers and how I play as well. Being on the field majority of the game or most of the game, as most quarterbacks are, plays huge dividends. You know what I mean? And not having that in my past years, incredibly grateful for my opportunities and experiences, no matter what. But just kind of like realized that wasn't going to be the most ideal situation for me at Eastern, and so stepping into this role and really why I hit the portal was to get that opportunity, was to be the set guy and see what I was made of. And it was just an unreal experience to lead the team and the guys that I had around me to a championship and do the things we did this year. It was just unreal.
Absolutely, man. You guys overall on the season, 11-2 overall record, undefeated in conference action in that OVC Big South Conference. And you guys actually started the year off 10-0 before ending up playing Kentucky, I believe it was, obviously Power
Sure.
4 SEC school. And that was your only loss in the regular season. You guys were nationally ranked all throughout the year and obviously did so many great performances. You guys had 35 plus points scored in each of your first 5 games. What was it that just clicked so well for this offense where you guys were able to score at a high level and also for the defense to where they were able to hold opponents to just a couple of scores each?
I think it was just the mesh and the camaraderie between both sides and everybody on the team. I think Coach Wilder did a good job of bringing in guys that was kind of on their last year and had the same mission, the same goal in mind. And I think when you put us all in the same room, it kind of just made it easy to keep the main thing, and not get distracted by the outside noise and what's going on. But yeah, I mean, it's just credit to Coach Wilder and the work that he put in the off season of getting the guys that he needed to in this program and building it from the start.
Mhm. Absolutely, man. And obviously, that showed in your guys' record. It showed in your guys' numbers overall. And I know when you were at Eastern Washington, I had him on the podcast as well. Efton Chisholm III was wide receiver one for you. Absolutely amazing. He's now with the New England Patriots. Congrats to him. And I know you also had Michael Wortham, who's now dominating with Montana as well. He was just named an All-American himself. And once again, you get an incredible group of receivers with your team, with Tennessee Tech this year, where you had not a single receiver over 600 yards, but you did have three that had over 520 each, and 5 receivers overall that had over 370 yards, 7 players with multiple receiving touchdowns. As a quarterback, obviously you're obviously offensive player of the year because of the numbers that you were able to put up, but it obviously helps to have a multitude of options that you can go to. How would you say that helped you out at that quarterback position?
Oh, no doubt. I think it doesn't matter where you're at or but yeah, no, I mean, I've said it several times. I mean, I would amount to nothing without the guys that I have around me. And I think that I've been in a lot of amazing receiver rooms and been blessed to be able to play with some of the guys that I have been. Um, and I mean, it just makes my job that much easier. And it's credit to the work that's put in the off season of getting timing and getting gelling with the guys and uh, just the whole process. I think that it plays a big part in being able to throw those guys the ball. I think off the field might even play a bigger role than on the stuff you do on the field. You know what I mean? And I think it's all just translative. I think when you build the relationships with the guys off the field, you build that trust, you build that foundation. Then, like I said, it just makes my job a lot easier when I got guys around me, especially that are on the same mission. Couldn't have asked for it any other way. I think those guys got me to this point, and I wouldn't be anything without them.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk about the connection that you have with your receivers a little bit more by showing off some of these big time plays that you had this past season in a segment that you're familiar with from the last time I had you on that I like to call Make That Play, where we're going to once again show off some of these big time touchdown scores that you had. And as always, I have my list right here, my top three plays from this past season for you that obviously are just in my opinion. I'm just a stats guy. I'm the fan in the stands as always. You're the one slinging it on the field, doing what you do best, obviously dominating the OVC Big South Conference like you did. What would you say was your best play from this past season?
I'll definitely go back to the Lindenwood game. Energy on the sideline was super dead. And coach called my number with a QB draw, and I remember I just took it up the middle. Didn't really have a choice to go around the guy. He's standing on the goal line, and I just ran straight through him. And like I said earlier, the energy on the sideline was just super dead, and I'll never forget, like, from that moment on, the entire game, the momentum, like everything, it just shifted in that instant moment. And it was just surreal. It was really cool to be a part of. Uh, Never been that type of tone setting guy in my career. I haven't had opportunities like that, but to be presented with one like that and capitalize was pretty crucial and something I'll remember for the rest of my life.
Absolutely, man. And while I do not have that in my top three, unfortunately, obviously a lot of touchdowns you scored throughout the season. So narrowing it down to just three was hard for me. But I will tell you my top three. And at number three, I have a 9 yard touchdown pass against Western Illinois where you ended up hitting Noah Robinson heading to the back left pylon just perfectly right over top of the cornerback. It was either your receiver getting it or no one was getting it. And thankfully, he went up, caught that, landed inbounds for a big time touchdown. At number two, going against a very tough Davidson team, 31-yard touchdown pass where you hit a seam route right past the linebacker, right before the safety in that perfect spot where if you did it a second sooner or a second later, it was either getting intercepted or it was getting dropped. You timed that perfectly to lead him in stride to where he was able to go and get right into the end zone. And then number one, 14-yard touchdown pass against Southeast Missouri State, where you ended up having to scramble
Oh,
out left.
nasty play! Yeah, yeah, I know what one you're talking about.
There you go. Yeah, they brought in some pressure. You ended up scrambling out left, fought through a tackle attempt, broke through that, and threw the ball right between two defenders, crashing in on you. You still managed to sling that right to a great receiver in Aiden Littles for a big time touchdown score. So obviously a whole lot of touchdowns that you had on the season, and you had career high numbers in passing yards, passing touchdowns, rushing yards as well. Finished this season as a star quarterback, not just in your conference, but overall in the FCS. Obviously, credit to your head coach, Bobby Wilder, and your offense coordinator, Brian Scott, to do what they did to help you guys out. What would you say was it that they did specifically to help you reach that next level? I know you mentioned, you being that primary quarterback, getting a majority of the reps, if not all of the reps throughout a good chunk of the season. But was there any technical stuff, any drills that they did at practice that you would say really helped contribute to this growth in your numbers?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's it's credit to my coaches in the past as well, putting me in tough situations in practice to make games a lot more breathable, if that makes sense. I think that it was crucial that in my early career we did a lot of like 2 minute drill, third, fourth down situations. I think that kind of grew my game. And getting here, that was really the focus. Bringing in what 30 something seniors. I think that in practice it was really just drilling third down, fourth downs, and 2 minute drills because that's the difference in games. The team that can stay the most collected, usually comes out on top in those scenarios. And in the beginning of the year, it was cool to see us get put in those scenarios and get in a couple 2 minute sits and put the ball in the end zone. I think Coach Wilder was super satisfied with that, and I mean it's all credit to those coaches and the preparation that they put in to getting us ready for the moments when they came on. But
Yeah, and you guys obviously were able to dominate throughout the year. You yourself, 2,780 passing yards, 26 passing touchdowns, a completion percentage of 65%, while rushing for nearly 500 rushing yards. You had some incredible performances in some of these games. A 66-20 win over Western Illinois. You had 358 passing yards with four passing touchdowns. That Lindenwood game that you mentioned there, 52-28 win, 173 passing yards, four total touchdowns, three through the air, one on the ground. And then against Davidson, 72-14 win, 246 passing yards with five touchdowns, three through the air, two on the ground, with a 72% completion percentage in that game, by the way. And the common theme with those three games that I just mentioned is you guys blew them out of the water. Obviously, the offense was able to do their part and score at will, but your guys' defense was just so incredible this season. Ended up leading the FCS in tackles for loss, third in rushing yards allowed per game at the FCS level. How did having this dominant defense correlate with the success that the offense had to where you guys had less pressure on you to, get back up or to come back from being down? How would you say that defense helped you out?
I mean, it's just what you said, and I think it's all three phases. When they come together and play ball, I think that you can win any game. I think in the FCS level, any game's winnable, any team's beatable. And having the caliber of defense that we did have this year, I think was paid tremendous credit to what we were able to do on the offensive side of the ball. We don't get the ball if they don't stop the ball, and they don't get to go on the field if we don't allow. And so like I think just our camaraderie and the way we played together, I think really set us up for a lot of success. But our offensive success comes from no credit but to the defense. They gave us the ball a tremendous amount of times. I couldn't even count them on my hands, but it's plays like those and it's defenses like those that quarterbacks love, and there's no other defense or squad that I would have rather played for this past season, and I'm just so grateful to have been able to be by those guys' side and be through it with them, and some of them were guys that were there for a long time, like Aaron Swafford, Theron Gaines, some people that have been in that program for a long time when it wasn't winning games, and to be a part of a culture where I come in and take it over and be a part of a special sequence of games. I think that it was just all super special, and to give credit to the defense for surely. Like none of this on the offensive side would have been possible without their elite play each Saturday.
Absolutely, man. And I know, obviously, I mentioned all the success that you guys had throughout the season. I do know those final three games of the 2025 campaign were an absolute battle. Obviously, I mentioned the Kentucky game before. That was your guys' second to last game of the regular season. Bounced back big time to win the conference championship against UT Martin. Battled out to get a 20-17 win over the Skyhawks before going against North Dakota in the FCS playoffs. Obviously, these three, you go from a Power Four opponent to now you're fighting for the conference championship in the final week with a very talented UT Martin team. And then you were going against North Dakota, first round of the FCS playoffs. Talk to me real quick about that last stretch of the season and how would you say those games kind of all affected each other?
I mean, it's week by week. I wouldn't say that one bled into the other and kind of carried on, but we knew we were going to Kentucky and it was going to be a challenge. It's an SEC opponent. We weren't the favored ones in that game. Like, there's some obviouses in that. And then bouncing back, I think it showed a lot of resiliency, and courage and toughness in our team. Rallying back and going out, the last week of the season and really getting away with what we started the season with. Our mantra was to run it back. Last year they shared the OVC conference title with the four teams shared it, and they didn't get the playoff bid. And like I had said earlier, the guys that have been in this program put a lot in to get it to where it is now. And so the mantra was to run it back. So we go into the last week, and there was no way we weren't going to come out with the dub that game. It was ours or nobody's. And we take that game. Wins never last longer than 24 hours. You watch that one, and we go to the playoff selection committee. I'll never forget. We go there, and all year we're ranked top 10 all
Yeah.
season. And we go to the selection committee, and then we see that we weren't in the top eight. Top eight gets the first round bye. So that definitely was kind of a setback in the moment. 'Cause you work so hard to get there, and it's kind of a letdown moment. But to go from that and then instantly flip page. Okay, we got game week. The coaches go straight to the coach's office instead of going back home. Now they're on scouting reports. I'm going home, getting on the film immediately since it's now uploaded. Like, it was a quick turnaround. I'd say that was the most uncomfortable situation in season that I've ever been put in, as far as the whereabouts. Knowing if you're going to play or not play, and then boom, it's quick turnaround. Sunday morning you find out. And so it was different for sure. And our team has faced a ton of adversity up to that point. And then going out there in North Dakota, surreal experience to be able to have NCAA patch on a jersey and be out there in FCS playoffs. And to go back to like how we talked, before any of this was even in picture, was just surreal. But yeah, I would say it was just different. It was nobody's been in that situation before, on the team that we had this year, and so it was a little bit of an uncomfortable situation. But there's nothing more than that I'd rather do than go out there and play a football game on a Saturday.
Absolutely. And obviously, you get to wrap up your career having that FCS playoffs experience, being OVC Big South Conference Player of the Year, and obviously winning a championship to your name as well before heading off to the professional ranks now. What did this mean to you to be able to wrap up your collegiate career this final year in this kind of fashion, the way that you did?
Just my entire life in general. I've never been on a winning team, part of a winning culture. And so to be a part of one was really special. I got asked a lot, like, what it's like to be on a winning team. Like, it's never been this way for me. And it just made conversations way easier with the guys on the team. Like, offense is talking to defense. I'm a grad transfer, and in my past experiences, when grad transfers came into Eastern Washington, you know them for like half a year, and so you don't really get to build relationships. And so something I was super grateful for was the amount of time I got to spend with people on the team, and I'll cherish those moments forever. But it's just indescribable until in the scenario, and I think that it helped shape me into who I am now. And the guys, I'll never forget all the times that whether it was good or bad, just coming together after it was maybe a tough workout, or maybe not a good day at practice, like just having tough conversations with guys that maybe you're uncomfortable with. I think it helped play it all the part.
Absolutely. And obviously, a great group overall at Tennessee Tech. And you obviously know from the past times I've had you on this podcast, you know the segments I like to do. And we're about to get into the final one of this interview where you get to once again recommend some of your teammates, some players from either this team or East Washington, wherever they might be, to have them on the podcast to get their names out there, tell their story, just like you're doing now in this segment that I like to call Who's Up Next. So, once again, Kekoa Visperas, you are on the clock. Who is up next on the Slim Sports Podcast?
Theron Gaines and Logan Weedman. Gotta have them. Gotta have them.
There you go. You were already prepared. That came out real quick there.
I mean, I got multiple, but I don't want to book your schedule. We got some dudes on my team. I'll tell you that.
Hey, well, when we get off air, you send me all of those names because I will
Okay.
look at all of their numbers. I am more than happy to get a whole lot on. So, absolutely. I know if you're recommending them that quickly right off the bat, they are some dogs. And obviously, you had a lot of them on this team throughout the season. I have a feeling I'm going to get quite a few Tennessee Tech players on my podcast with the success that you guys were able to have. And obviously, you're looking to continue your success into the professional ranks. Obviously, I keep mentioning every time I have you on that completion percentage is absolutely incredible. That is what a lot of these NFL and pro teams look for from their starting QB. What are you doing during this offseason to really enhance your chances of making a professional team's roster going into next season?
Just taking advantage of each day. That's all I can control. And putting my rocks in the right bin. Sorting out my time. You know what I mean? Instead of buying into what I could be doing. I'm back home. I'm with family. I'm enjoying my time, but at the same time, I got goals in mind. I got priorities and responsibilities as well. And I think throughout my college process, it just helped me dial in, my day to day. And so coming here, it's nice to just get away for a second, see the beach, see the sun, get in the sand, and on top of that, just dial in my routine and get back. Just breathe and work. That's what I'm here to do.
There you go, man. I definitely cannot wait to see Kekoa Visperas lighting it up at the NFL level. There's no doubt in my mind, man. I really do believe that you will be on an NFL roster here one day soon. And obviously, after an incredible career, the future is bright for you. So keep being great, man. And thank you so much, as always, for hopping on this podcast with me.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate you, man.